Good afternoon, everybody, and good afternoon to the world and to the Gambians, both in the Gambia and in the diaspora and every part of the world. I take this opportunity to use this session to address the nation within the Gambia, outside the Gambia, and whoever is everywhere. Today marks a very important day for me to explain to you why I came out as an independent candidate. I am going to dwell on few key issues because I have already developed a website that has my full manifesto, that has my forward and all other aspects that I want to do to rule this country for the betterment of the Gambia. I want to take this opportunity to say happy Tobaski as we go towards it, happy events as we move all over the world, and to say thank you to all Gambians and all those who are non-Gambians, but also looking for the restoration of democracy in the Gambia. I want to first and foremost draw my inspiration from the National Human Rights Framework that actually concerns and guides me in terms of what I am going to do. And that is the Constitution provides for us the fundamental law which affirms our commitment to freedom, justice, probity, and accountability. It also affirms the principle that all powers emanate from the sovereign will of the people. The fundamental rights and freedoms enshrined in the Constitution will ensure for all time respect for the observance of human rights and fundamental freedoms for all without distinction as to ethnic considerations, gender, language, or religion. In acknowledging our fundamental rights, we also affirm our duties and responsibilities as citizens of the Gambia. This is one of the preambles of the Gambia's constitution upon which I rest my arguments, and also looking at chapter 1 of the Republic of the Gambia's constitution. The Gambia is considered to be a sovereign and secular republic. The sovereignty of the Gambia resides in the people of the Gambia, from whom all organs of government derive their authority, and in whose name and for whose welfare and prosperity the powers of government are to be exercised in accordance with the constitutions. So it is clearly stipulated, and as a Gambian, a concerned citizen, being a very active onlooker as a development expert, I believe I have something to give the Gambia and I have something to bring in within the political sphere. There are various aspects that I want to address here today. That is reasons why I came out as an independent candidate. I came out as an independent candidate because I felt that we don't have to sit down as onlookers again, but to be actively engaged. Being the reason that the current political dispensation, that is the current APRC regime, has failed the nation in assuming its responsibility to the people and accountability by creating a lot of lacuna and abuses to the people, to the extent that the Gambia has lost its face in the community of nation and among ourselves. I came out because I felt I appreciate the efforts that the opposition parties have been doing, because according to the Constitution, if everything is right, they have rights, and it is a duty for all political parties to engage in a democracy if it is fair and it is respected. But that has not happened. The parties have been trying to engage, and during this engagement, we have seen for the past 22 years, it was not possible to change the status quo. A status quo that has created endless pain, endless distrust, and disrespect for its population that it is supposed to serve, to the point that, having done that, it is also now basking in the glory. Let's see who can remove me. Being an onlooker, looking at it, and looking at the 22 years in which we have given the opportunity to the opposition, which I respect, I recognize, and I adore them. And I want to say that I really appreciate the efforts they have been doing, But looking at the way it has been going on for the past 22 years, I thought nothing is going to change if we don't change our strategies. I am not here to condemn any political party. I am not here for any party to compromise its principles. I am not here to put myself and entrench myself. I am here to engage constructively with this year's political process to ensure that parties change their strategies if we want to unseat President Jammeh. This is the singular goal that I have that needs to happen. There is a lot of debate going on about political reforms, institutional reforms, economic reforms, and so on. This cannot happen if we don't have a singular goal of removing President Yahya Jammeh from the seat. Why? Because he has entrenched himself to the fact that he has truncated all the electoral laws that favors him. And I guess those of you who understand what I'm talking, and if you look at the electoral reform bills, you look at the election acts, the original one, and what has been brought in the amendments, all were there to entrench him and making it more difficult. For that matter, it will be very difficult for any singular party to be able to remove him from power. I have been watching and I saw all these parties trying to stand on their own platforms. If we all have a common goal and we believe that Gambia is what we are standing for, and we believe that the Gambia needs to be given priority, I think we have to change our strategy. That is why I decided to come out as an option, looking at all the information that I saw, looking at the analysis I have done from the time this regime came in and the subsequent electoral processes that took place, and how he has been consolidating as the other parties are sharing the votes among themselves. Let me give you one of the examples and the analysis why I came out. For example, he has amended the electoral law or the constitution to only ask for what? One vote. He needs only one to be the winner. Now, if 5 political opposition parties are going to contest, all of them has 99 votes. All 5 parties having 99 votes, and he gets 100, he is the winner. We have to understand that, because if you add all those 5, 99 by 5, of course you know that it is the opposition votes that is almost tripling his votes. But because everybody wants to sit on that seat and all want to come out in their own interest, it will not work. I did the analysis, I looked at it over time, and over the years, I thought this will not work, and we cannot afford to take chances with this year, 2016, because there are so many things that are affecting the Gambians, both within and in the diaspora. And there are so many human rights abuses. There are so many failures of the institution, and the Gambia has lost its dignity, its integrity, its respect within the community of nations. For example, how can you remove the Gambia from the Commonwealth without putting it under a constitutional debate? How can you take what we call unilateral decisions that are not supposed to be done but has to go through constitutional processes for Gambia to be isolated? These are issues that we cannot sit down anymore to it. Then there were increases in the electoral process, the amount of money that has to be paid. Gambians are very poor. He has reduced the Gambians to paupers, to the point that hardly can one generate resources to save up to $100,000, much more $500,000, much more $50,000, depending on which category you are looking at. These are all issues that we must have to take into consideration. And I thought that it is important for us to start reflecting and go beyond ourselves to understand that there is only one seat, and this seat is one. So all parties cannot be there. But it is being occupied, and the person who occupied it has truncated the laws to enable him entrench himself. I think this is one reason, that one analysis. Then you have the constitution that has been grossly inadequate in many ways. It was tampered with. There are so many provisions that try to entrench him, and there is need for us to understand that it is the supreme laws of the Gambia, and we must pay attention to it in order for us to be able to place in proper democracy in the country. Failure of institutions. We have now in the Gambia, I don't think there is any institution here that is likely, that can say I am not faced with problems. I want to be heard with analysis and consciousness. All institutions in the Gambia are no longer what they are. The technocrats, the capacities, and the glory they used to have all been lost. Nothing is working. Every decision, every procedure is decided by one man, President Jammeh. He doesn't need advisors. He doesn't need technical people. Whatever he says is what goes. So the institutions have totally failed. How can we negotiate within institutions, looking at the technical competence and the relevant institutions that are supposed to do? There are human rights abuses and lack of the recognition of the freedom of expression and fundamental freedoms. I think I don't have to tell the world what has been going on. I don't have to convince Gambians in the diaspora and Gambians in the Gambia and all the political parties that this is something that is obvious. Today, I am addressing the world. When I did my declaration on the 2nd, there was no coverage from the state radio and television. Nobody dares talk about it. Nobody dares comment on it. Everything was a blackout. It is the private media that stood up, including the international media, for this to happen. In a country you call a democracy, where you're talking about freedom of expression, where they are talking about effective participation in politics. If an individual comes out on another platform to vie for the same position, why do you have to deny him or her the right to use the very state instruments that belongs to the whole nation and to the state to facilitate that democratic process? This is one example. Impact of the situation on the young people. You can imagine the young people of the Gambia who are now going on perilous journeys, traveling, and when you want to intervene, they will tell you, even if I'm going to die, I will go. Parents are dying, parents are sick, hypertension is killing the people because they saw their young children who have lost hope in the Gambia, who have nothing to do but to choose between life and death, when they could have had a better option. As a parent, a mother, and an individual, a concerned citizen, I can no longer sit down and wait to say, let us negotiate all the time. This is, I know it has affected, there is a lot of unemployment of the young people. You see every young person now carrying a backpack. They are looking for opportunities to leave the country. Yes, young people are very, they would like to, they are explorative. They would like to engage in journeys and so on, but it has to be safe journeys, journeys of their choices, and journeys that they feel they are just going to gain experience and come back. But because there is no hope in the Gambia, that is why the young people are leaving. It cuts across gender, age, and class. I have traversed across the whole Gambia. In every community I go, there is nowhere out of the 1,877 settlements of the Gambia that a young person has not left the country. Nowhere. I'm talking from a very authentic research I've done. They are dying, we also know that. But what is the argument? Compare that to the other countries. Yes, we are a small population, but we are a country and we matter. To compare us with large countries and trivializing that shows there is no recognition and respect for the people that you are ruling. It's another point. The economics policies of the Gambia, there are no longer economic policies. It is like, go to the bank, go and take 5 million and go and give it out for the rallies. Go to the bank, take out this amount and go and take it out there. Using the resources of the people that were supposed to be used for buildings, infrastructure, projects, and advancing effective development for which Gambians as a whole will benefit is no longer the case. In fact, who can tell you I am deciding on the economic policy? Nobody can tell you that. We have seen it. There is no respect for some of the international pacts and decisions that are binding to nations in order to advance our development. We have found out that the economy of the Gambia is the rate of debts The amount of debt that the Gambia has accrued is phenomenal. Phenomenal to the point that every 6 months we are talking in billions, 1.5 billion and so on. You can never catch up as it moves, and it is like that. There is nothing happening to take care of that. You think about which is having a very negative effect on the people of the Gambia. It is affecting us because jobs are no longer there. Our debt burden is very high, and who are to pay? Not this generation, not the next generation, maybe generations not yet unborn. And yet, we can't do anything about it. We also have other things. Looking at the fact that these are some of the factors that are very threatening. Factors that, are so obvious and evident that it shouldn't take anybody. It shouldn't take any simple-minded person to put one and one together to look at it. Everywhere in the Gambia, when you travel, nobody trusts each other. We can't even sit down and have that usual ambience, that love and joke and play that we used to have among ourselves, because everybody is watching over each other's soldier. We are reporting each other. We are making sure that we facilitate the arrest of people. We give information as to when is this man or woman coming to sleep, and which way you can pass to come in the house and assault him or her and take them away and let them be disappeared. Disappearance without trace. Detention. You are detained without any reason. There is impunity in the highest order. Impunity to the point that lack of respect for the intellectual ability of the capacity of the people who can actually deliver have made them reduced to nothing and nothing else. It has even affected our belief in the Lord Almighty, whichever religion you may belong, or ourselves. It affected the integrity and the dignity of the people. I have also watched that in 2006, Gambians were coming towards a consensus that brought about the issue of NAD. NAD came in at a time when it was obvious, that was the beginning of us, all of us beginning to see that there was need to get this man out. And that strategy was very important for all Gambians, to create a platform that will allow the political parties to come together and choose a candidate of their choice, and they rally around him or her to move the process further. But that did not happen. It was a big disappointment for everybody. For every Gambian, it was a big disappointment. For the fact that we have entrusted our lives, our trust to the group to be able to do this so that we could move Gambia further was a failure. And every Gambian was disappointed. Now, we thought to err is human. And as a human being, sometimes you have to make the mistake to be able to get the right path. 2011 came, we mustered courage after the failure of NAD. We mustered courage. It was during that gap period before 2011 that a lot of people were arrested, a lot of people were abused, a lot of people were dismissed, and this democratic space became shrinking and shrinking to the point that it was extraordinary. People had to leave because of persecution. People had to leave because they were being hunted. And for those of us who remain, we had to face the difficulties in the flight of the fact that people have to be there to raise the voices. We mustered. In 2011, we had the United Front. Again, there was no unity. All the parties did not come together. And in that also, it was a failure. Now, we had to muster again. Having mustered, coming to 2016, for those of us who are concerned citizens, we thought, we appreciate, we adore, we love, we recognize the effort of the opposition parties. I want to underscore that. We appreciate it because they have done well in where there is democracy. We expect that everybody must exercise your democratic rights. But then looking at the strategy in NAD, that it didn't work. Looking at the 2011 United Front did not work. We cannot leave it to chance. We can no longer leave it to chance. No matter what, I am not here to disregard any political party. We are not here for that. We are here to call for changing the strategy. It is not about abandoning the principles of the parties. It is not abandoning the parties or killing them. It is about changing the strategy. After we have seen 20 years of the impossibility of removing this man, because there is no democracy. And if there is no democracy and there is no term limit, all these things are there, it won't work. And I want to tell the nation that my work and research, observations and analysis that I have done have shown me that we don't have to compromise the parties, but we can change the strategy and come up with an independent candidate. Because when you gather information, when you look at the analysis, you must come out with a perspective that will be useful as a recommendation that can be used effectively. Now, looking at that, I thought, I don't want to leave this to chance and leave it alone to the parties. I think it is important that an independent candidate comes out who is going to galvanize all the other parties to be able to come up with one candidate, if possible, singular candidate. This is the first scenario. A singular candidate who is under an independent ticket to galvanize all the other parties who are in the political sphere and have been given the opportunity in 2006 and 2011 to be able to move Gambia and to remove Gambia out of this dictatorship. Reasons for doing that is one. I know in societies where we are not completely epistemic, but we have a lot of educated people, but also majority of our people are not educated. Now, if we are going to lead and we want to move the Gambia, we must respect capacity. We must recognize that aspect of governance if we want to move. Now, looking at that, I know that people normally would vote on party lines. This is my analysis. Some will vote on allegiance. Some will just vote blindly, depending on which personality is giving them their fish money, who they are hoping upon, and so on. And therefore, it dilutes the very essence of coming together to effect the change that we need and desire. I decided to look at all those options. I said, I will come out as an independent candidate and try to engage into constructive dialogue with the existing parties in order for us to be able to salvage the Gambia. I know that it was not going to be easy, because some will come with the argument that, but how can we concede this to her when we were making our parties? She has been away. When we have been working and struggling, why should it be she? But that was an opportunity that we gave all of them. It was an opportunity that was given to them for them to come to among themselves, and we were watching. But they are representing us. They were representing us. All parties are representing the sovereign will of the nation, of the people. You understand? And for that matter, having seen that did not work, and we knew that, I thought the lessons learned from the 2006 NAD experience was going to be the lessons that will be used or applied in the 2011 elections, because I said to err is human, so that it will, the gaps, the weaknesses and the challenges that they have experienced, and which some of them acknowledged, and that it was a learning point. In 2012, it was not so. There was fragmentation, signifying for me and for the concerned citizens lack of trust. Because we all have interest to move this country. Lack of trust among them. And if there is lack of trust, to the point that we cannot effect the change that is needed, it is high time we take a moral high ground to say, yes, I want, you want, and that person wants. But don't forget that there is somebody occupying that seat. And the person occupying that seat has already entrenched himself by truncating all the existing laws, all the tools of democracy that is supposed to facilitate the process of change and effective change. So if that is the case, I thought we cannot leave it to chance. I respect, I recognize, I adore, I appreciate whatever all parties have been doing. But it is time that Gambians are tired. Gambians are tired. Whether those within the country, those outside, even those in the grave are tired. Some died. Some are in the prison. Where is Isatou Dabo and his executive? Where are the 11 women, valiant women, who came out to support democracy? Where are other pro-democracy activists whom we come from different parties, even including the APRC, who are in the prison? Some are in prison, some disappeared, some have died. Nobody knows where others are. It is high time that we move. Gambia must move. Gambia must move. And that is the reason why I thought we must change the strategy and not compromise your parties. I am calling on all Gambians, both within and abroad, everywhere in the world, to understand that I have not come to do anything that is being described as a coup. If people think of that, it is the limitation of their understanding of what democracy is all about. Because it is not only the parties, political parties, that have rights to come out and represent the people. That is where you have the option of the independent. It need not come from any party, because even if you belong to a party, you have to resign from that party. So the technicalities that are involved is what people don't understand, and I have been listening to the debates. I've been listening to the debates. I appreciate those debates, but we also understand the technical understanding of certain things, with many from my own analysis. It's not addressing the issue from a strategic point of view. So my coming out as an independent candidate is not to unseat anybody. It's my right as a citizen. I have the capacity, the capability. I have the expertise. I am also within the political field. I'm a political animal. I have been doing a lot of work. I have been doing a lot of engagement with the political parties. I have been observing, and I think it is important that a neutral person comes, who does not belong to any party. Nobody can tell you Dr. Touray belongs to this party. I am a human rights defender. I have been watching, and I am concerned, and I know that the human rights of people have been abused politically, economically, socially, and we are all victims of the whole thing. So why do we have to leave it to the political parties alone? It's very important, because we have to take a very decisive path for our children, for ourselves, and the future direction. We cannot afford to be isolated in the community of nations. We cannot afford to be isolated and being derogated in the midst of people when Gambians are so intelligent. We have the capacity. We have the brains scattered all over the world. People who are heading universities, institutions, and who are going on consultancies, and within the country and outside, who can deliver the country. People are sitting out there, not because they chose to, but because of the persecution. If you have a regime that does not respect competence, if you have a regime that does not recognize business people who are bringing in jobs for people, you have a regime that does not want anybody to contribute, that does not even want a fair representation, who does not even want people to understand how the government is run. Can you imagine that most of these community radios have been muzzled? There is lack of freedom of expression. Some of them have been closed. You have so many of them, I don't have to tell you, because you know it better than me. Look at the great brains and the great people, the great people who are out there. Today, whatever we are doing is because there are Gambians and non-Gambians who are there to facilitate this process for me to talk to the world, no matter what the differences are. So we must transcend some of our personal political persuasions. What I am calling for, the other aspect I want to talk about, is he has made it 5-year term without any limit. It's ad infinitum. So when do we have that? But he cleverly put in an age limit. The age limit to which once they should start being a person of wisdom. So where are we going? Leaving the youths without hope. Wanting people to die in the foreign lands, even if it is not their choice. Yes, if it is the will of God, yes. But people are dying out there because they have no choice, they cannot come. Some people want to be buried in their own homeland. Look at the people who died outside and even their dead bodies are not coming. What can a dead body do? Our children are dying on these perilous journeys, fellow Gambians, and those out there listening to me. It is as a result, we cannot miss this opportunity. 2016 cannot be missed. We cannot miss it. We are ready to engage in a non-violent way. We are ready to engage in a non-violent way. And the reason why I am emphasizing this, everybody is tired. People are tired. People have been bearing. People have been suffering for no just cause. And therefore, now they are up to the neck. Therefore, I thought it wise and prudent that if I choose to be here in the Gambia, going in and out despite all the persecutions and the difficulties I'm facing, and I have chosen not to leave, and many have chosen not to leave, supported by our diasporian sisters, brothers, relatives, daughters, sons, and every Gambian that matter. I think we have to effect the change we want to have. That is why I came out. I am not here to remove any party leader. I am not here to kill any political party. I respect all of them. But the very people who are the vanguards of those political parties, some of them are behind bars. Is that what we want? Do we want our elders, our daughters, our sons, our children who are out there working day in and day out? Even the security forces are out there. It's not their choice. Most of them, it is not their choice. But because they respect the fundamental freedoms and wanting to promote democracy, they are being labeled as enemies of the state. That's why they left. Taking up refugee status, asylum status, or having to do hide and seek, or having to manage their ways of trying to legitimize themselves. When you have a beautiful nation, where your roots are well grounded, where you know and grew up, for you not to be able to go back. Because only one person who everybody has put in place is deciding why you should not come back, because you are not a patriotic citizen. That is one. It is as a result of that I decided to come out. But before I made my declaration, I followed and respected some traditions of the Gambia. Having done my manifesto, I sat down looking at the work I have done, looking at the political landscape for the last 22 years, collecting data, looking at the election results, looking at the amendment acts, looking at the constitutions, and all these other amendments. I decided that I have to come up with a manifesto that transcends me, any party, for the betterment of the Gambia and the future of the Gambia and the nation at large. Something that will surpass every Gambian, but will give every Gambian equal opportunities to self-actualize. I wrote my manifesto and decided to come back. I looked at it and said, before I come out to make my declaration, I will go and meet every party leader that I can meet to explain to them my mission of why I am coming out as an independent candidate and why I think they should come to me and let us join hands. I cannot do it alone, and I am not out for it alone, and I want Gambians to understand that. But I have rights. equal rights like any other party. As any other Gambian can come out to come to the playing field. Being on site, watching the political landscape, seeing what has been happening, and giving 2 opportunities to the designated parties, I decided to come out as a independent presidential candidate for 2016. Appealing to them, I greeted all the parties following the traditional one. Because what does that mean? I am not here to discredit or disregard. I am an intellectual. I have done my 3 levels of degree. I did not jump one and go to the other one. I started from the bottom to the top to where I am. So I know what it means to do literature review. And when you do literature review, whatever topic you are dealing with, you have to find out who were the vanguards, who were the people who wrote on those topics and the subject matter, and come up with your own perspective. I went to say, I've come to meet you, and I went with a team who were taking notes, and I told them all why I am coming out, and that I am not here for them to drop their parties. I am here for us to change the strategy to be able to unseat this man for the Gambia to come back to its glory, and to enable the people who are out there and who are within the Gambia and elsewhere to be able to have the freedom to make the choices they want to make in this country and in the Gambia. So when I did that, I went out, and today is the last day when I met the UDP. It was a very constructive discussion. I first and foremost want to say thank you to my Fati for when I met him in Dakar, he gave me his unflinching support. We spoke at length, we discussed. I want to give him the respect and honor that he offered. Gomez also called me. We had a discussion, and he gave me his unflinching support. I have constructively engaged with the others. They have promised that they will go back to their executives, they will discuss with them, and see, they'll get back to me. But everything we discussed was very positive. And I'm sure it's just a question of our style of how we deal with things. But I'm trying to create the commonalities, pull on the commonalities. I'm looking at the specificities, and I'm looking at the differences. But at the end of the day, what is important is to have one unified mission of removing this person. We are talking about electoral reforms, constitutional reform, restoration of fundamental freedoms and expression. We're talking about dealing with the human rights framework. We're talking about restoring our international and bilateral relationships, which are almost at zero, not because of the people, them, but because of us in the Gambia, because of the poor policies and the dictatorship. We have to look at that. And to be able to do that, we cannot do that. All this, it seems we have commonalities. This cannot happen if this man is not out. That's what I want to tell Gambians and all these parties. This cannot happen if we do not remove this man from that place in a non-violent way, and this is 2016 gives us that opportunity. You cannot put the cart before the horse. He has already put in his laws, his policies and everything. If he is there, definitely he's going to entrench them. Now, if we make a critical analysis based on our conscious criticism and thinking, how are we going to make that happen? The one goal, singular goal, is let him go out first. And I have made a manifesto that has shown the trajectory that I am following. And I think it is very clear. If I did not have that website over there, there will be complete blackout in the Gambia about what is happening in the country. This is one key issue that you should think about. I am out for negotiations. I am out for dialogue. But we must remember, fellow Gambians and people out there who are concerned about the situation in the Gambia, that we have barely 2 months to go. Now, 2006 gave us that opportunity to talk about the same rhetorics. 2011 gave us the opportunity to talk about the same rhetorics. What have we learned? This time, I am urging Gambians not to miss this opportunity. This opportunity cannot be missed, or else already the state has failed. It's obvious. Let us focus. Let us have unity of direction. Let us love the country beyond us, because the whole is bigger than the part, and every Gambian is part of that. This is why my symbol, the broom, is very important for you to understand why I took the broom. The broom is made up of a bundle of sticks together. Each stick represents one Gambian or group of Gambians still possessed by individuality, but bound together in the spirit of unity and focus on one goal: to bring change for progress with all the others in the broom, that is the Gambia. This is what I want people to understand. It took me time to come with the symbol because I was involved and engaged in critical reflection of myself, of the Gambia, and the current political dispensation. I engaged in very scholarly work and also very pragmatic analysis, reaching out to the elders, to the young people. What does the broom signify? The broom belongs to everybody. There is nobody that can read the broom. The individual sticks, that is people or group, may be snapped over a weak person's knee. The individual broom or people may be snapped over a weak person's knee. But bound together, if we are bound together, the collective is invincible. I can tell you this. What we are doing now in the Gambia and the way things are going, we are together and the collective is invincible. So we must focus. The spirit of the broom is rooted in unity, strength, endurance, and healthy living. All this signifies the broom. Fellow Gambians and concerned citizens, and those out there who are concerned about the Gambia, I am urging all of you, and I'm calling on all of us to support, to join hands together, to galvanize ourselves, to come to terms, to put our individual differences and party affiliations for the moment. I am not saying kill your parties, but to look at the one common singular goal and objective: to change this regime and save the Gambia, to make it a better place for the people. What do I plan to do? I cannot do it alone, and I want you to know that. What I am calling for is very, it's easy because I have taken time to deal with some of the things. I did not just sit down and write that. I'm not talking just for the sake of talking. I am engaging constructively with my team and citizens who are concerned to ensure that we deliver. We can no longer leave things to chance. Neither can we go empty, talking and talking and talking. That is fine, because it is a healing process. But what type of talk? What type of plans do we have? What is going to make the difference? What alternative are we bringing to unseat this regime? How are we going to deal it? It requires galvanizing the productive forces within the country and outside to be able to move the Gambia forward and to be respected in the community of nations. What did we plan? As I said earlier, my manifesto is very explicit for those who can read and understand and have deeper meaning and can engage in critical analysis and deductions based on logic. I said, when I am not coming for more than one term. In fact, there is no term limit. So I have chosen one term of 5 years. And I didn't choose it just at random to say, like, I'm going in for X number of years. That is what I can do. It's based on a proper time budget and programmatic planning, looking at the economy, looking at all the aspects of governance, and what are some of the critical issues that we have to address for the Gambia to come back to its feet. That's what we did. Now, those 5 years did not come just out of the blues. It came as a result of time budget, and I will give you some summaries of what I have planned. First and foremost, I would want to usher in a new republic, a third republic, looking at the human rights framework. How do I go about doing that? I want to, it is my fervent belief and conviction that we can bring about change for a better Gambia by directing our efforts and political capital towards one end, the singular pragmatic goal of ushering in a new and third republic that brings progress by building strong democratic instruments and institutions. Building strong democratic instruments and institutions. It is absolutely necessary that we look at the Constitution. We need to have the right democratic instruments for all these parties who have been missing the point because of the way those instruments have been truncated, to put them back in place to allow all of them to come into a level playing field. We need to repeal the obnoxious laws that restrict our freedom and liberty. That's a lot of work. We need to build a strong economy and leveling the political playing field so that the sovereign will of Gambians will always prevail in their choice of leadership. That is why I am out. And that's why I said I should be able to do that in 5 years. Looking at what has been done, here I am. I have the Constitution of the Gambia. I have the amendment bills, the bills that are used to truncate the political process. Election Act Chapter 3.01, Laws of the Gambia, Decree number 78 of 1996, amended by Decree number 90 of 1996, Decree number 93 of 1996, and Act number 7 of 2000, and all other acts that have come to entrench them, the current status quo and his parties, and also the electoral amendment acts, which are already there. I made sure I got everything that I got, so I am not talking out of the vacuum. I have looked at the provisional the results that have been going on over the years. I have put in a lot of effort to find out what went wrong. I would not discredit anything that I don't have the evidence. I did a lot of research with my team, and looking at all that, that was what was the basis of the strategy we came in. So if we want to do that, we need 1 5-year term only that will deal with all that to be able to move the Gambia forward. You have the human rights, you have to deal with human rights. You have to deal with the situation. We also have to deal with the constitutional reforms, the judiciary, the freedom of expression, the media. The media is a very important arm of governance in a democracy, especially in a society where a lot of people cannot read and write. And I came to realize this when I came and I wanted to do this work. And I did my manifesto. We reflected and realized that we have to translate it in all the languages. It was the radio stations that were doing that, for the population to know what is in there for them. Because these are the people who have the sovereign will to be able to deal with that. But they did, everything has been muzzled. Everything has been muzzled to the point that the great people of the media are all out in the diaspora, doing great work, no matter what. So this is something which means you don't even care about the people whose vote you are every day looking for, all of us are looking for. Then you have looking at the justice system, where the prison conditions are so bad. You come to the economy, you have the monetary policy, which has already been, it doesn't go by conventional standards. And we cannot afford to be isolated, because we are part of the community of nations. And when you come to talk about monetary policy, you have to go by certain standards. But if you contravene those standards, then you are left behind. And that is what is affecting the country. We've seen that. You want to talk about taxation. The Gambia, as poor as it is, I think is the third highest tax collector from a population whose salaries are not up to even 3,000 as a minimum wage. You come to the financial accountability. That is zero. We know that because if you are telling people to go to the bank, give a note, or you take a telephone, go and tell the governor to give me this, go to this place and take it, and you are deciding on even on the rates and how dividends are done. We are nowhere. You come to the private sector development. The private sector has been one of the biggest areas that create jobs because they have their businesses. They have what they call corporate social responsibility too. They need their businesses and they need the social capital, like people, to help them. And that's where you create jobs for young people. When one or two private, small enterprises employ at least 10, 15 young people, how many families are you feeding? How many opportunities and shops are you opening to create outlets? And many other things. We also realize that even under the private sector, they are so taxed that some had no choice but to close. You are controlling the chambers of commerce, which I believe under a free market economy, there should be modalities. You have the agriculture sector. Now, women and men are no longer working for themselves. Very few of them are doing it. Women's energy and everything are now working on farms that don't belong to them. The agricultural inputs that comes in their name, and only in their name, but not in their use. Our foreign policy, I am ashamed. I just want to appeal on behalf of Gambians, to the international community, that the failure of the institution has made it so difficult that our foreign policies are not resonating with international standards and the best interests of the Gambia. We have to do something about that. Regional and sub-regional relationships. We already know that the Gambia is out of the Commonwealth. It was not our choice. And I don't want to hide under the cloak of colonialism. Yes, very few nations were not colonized. We all have our histories and we have pasts. We acknowledge them and recognize them and know that they form part of our identity. Nobody can say no to that. And it has contributed a lot to what we became. But what lessons have we learned to forge on? What lessons have we learned to forge on? Every country has a history to tell. But why do we have to cloak ourselves under that to start castigating, preaching hate speeches, giving persona non grata, and all other things, and even withdrawing the Gambia from the community of nations for just an individual person's reason, are things that we need to address, because the Gambia cannot afford to be isolated. We cannot, and we must not take chances to do that. We need each other. Even though we may have whatever we may have, we are not an island. You come to partnerships. What sort of partnerships are we having? Is it based on objective partnership, or is it on holy alliances that is going to edge out those who know the standards and have respected the standards and recognized? All these are things that we have to consider. You come to the social sector. For the social sector, I would like us to look at the whole issue of the health sector. How and what are we going to do to improve on the health sector? You can tell me, yes, we have beds, but I've been to the hospital and found 4 women who have delivered lying on one bed, all lying across. 5 to 6 babies placed on one bed. I've seen it. And I think those out there also might have seen it. Drugs are no longer there if they are there on temporary basis. We have surrogate. drug shops where Gambians are told, go and buy it outside and go to that place. Paracetamol sometimes is even prescribed. The essence of the health sector has been lost for the poor Gambians. What is there for the women? Because we have to consider the gender dimensions of health. Women are mothers, they carry pregnancies, and if you want them to carry healthy pregnancies, you want them to give out healthy citizens who can be presidents, doctors, teachers, journalists, nurses, etc., etc., businessmen and women. You have to take care of the essentials. Do we have mammograms? Is it a right for every woman to undergo a mammography test or examination? Are men, as a matter of right, supposed to have a herniorrhaphy test? I'm not a medical doctor. I'm just giving you things that I plan to do, that I'm going to work with the experts. I'm just telling you what I want to do. And I am not going into those aspects in deep. I just want to put the democratic structures. As for education, this year's results have tested. You have all seen what happened. Education is one of the greatest sectors that have succeeded. And they have been trying. But because their resources are not adequate, maybe their technical expertise are not given the amount of attention that is needed. It has affected the quality of teaching and learning. We want to look at the environment. We want to look at tourism. I want to look at women's rights. Youth are one of the most critical elements that I want to look at also. Because these are the future, the current generation, the future generations, and those yet unborn. Looking at the current scenario of young people in the Gambia is very, very beautiful. It's very, very sad. You divide the youths according to party lines. The concerns of youth should transcend partisan line, but rather developmental. They have a choice to belong to whichever party they choose. But they must not be blamed or denied scholarships, or arrested or put behind bars because they have another political persuasion other than the current status quo. It is against democracy. And what type of citizens are we raising? Youths that were born at the entry of this 1994, this thing, are already grown-ups. They are about 24 years now. 22. They are now going into the realm of adulthood. What is there for them? That's why a lot of mass exodus is among the youth. And most of these obnoxious policies and laws are affecting them. Because it is their fathers, their mothers, their uncles, and the people who feed them, who pay their school fees, who give them all the support that they need to grow up as good citizens to fulfill their dreams, are the ones who are behind the bars, who are being driven, who are being packed and kept away. This is what is happening in the Gambia. And we said we want a youth who will fulfill their aspirations. I don't see it. Youth are being managed in a way that they do not have their own self-dignity. They are only out there, either they toe the line, or if you are not, you have to suffer. Even those who toe the line cannot. We have interferences here and there. We must look at these people as the critical mass of people. Do you know that the Gambian youths currently here are being supported by their fellow youths who escaped through the back door and who had the chance to go over there for them to survive? We know all about that. Thank you very much, those out there. Thank you very much, those out there. But it cannot continue. We must make Gambia a better place for the young people. We must make Gambia a place where they can choose to go in and out at any point in time they want. We must make it better for the elderly and the young people and everybody for that matter. For every citizen matters. The young people, what type of generation are we bringing, fellow Gambians and those out there? It is on that basis that I am calling on the political parties to transcend party boundaries. We cannot effect the change we want. We cannot do these reforms without following the singular goal of creating a change first. So all the debates I've been hearing, they are all welcomed. They are very good. I have also this national security. Now, under the national security, now, when you talk about the national security is considered as the armed and allied forces. They have a distinct function. and roles, and it will focus on their mandate. Because they are not recruited just to come and kill, or to be arresting, or to be doing that in a civilized state. That's why in all nations that I have studied, looking at the functions of the issues I have studied. Can you plug in this thing? I have realized that the security forces are the finest brains because they have to deal with intelligence. They have to deal with intelligence. They have to deal with human beings. They have to deal with human rights. They have to deal with the integrity and the personal dignity of the individual. And therefore, they transcend a particular type of characteristic. So they are the finest people. I would build a respectful image for the security forces in the country as a whole. You must realize that the security forces are part of the larger society and are engaged in a noble profession. I want to underscore that. It is important to note that one day there will be civilians and need to survive as citizens and would need the relevant skills to engage constructively with development of the nations. They are not supposed to be killing, neither should we see them as a threat. They are working for us, for themselves and everybody, not for an individual. Any security force with the right intelligence, because they have to go through even an IQ, if you go through the procedural issues. They are not here to threaten, and they are not to do miscarriage of justice. The role of the armed forces is to defend the sovereignty of the country and maintain peace and stability for all Gambians and those in the territory. I will facilitate and encourage a well-trained and disciplined force that will respect the human rights and civil liberties of all Gambians and adhere to the Constitution and other laws of the Republic. I would provide improved professional military and other training facilities to allow the Army and all security forces to play useful roles in the development process, especially in the area of road and bridge constructions, gully erosions, control and forest management, as well as any other field they are interested in during peacetime. The police and other security forces will be strengthened to deal with crime and drug trafficking, which has become a national embarrassment. We will provide life skills and support services to enable them to engage constructively with their communities. After they retire from active service, the security forces will be able to participate in the broader international peacekeeping forces to contribute their quota in bringing peace and stability to the world. The security forces, I understand their situation. And I hope that when I am voted in as the independent presidential candidate for 2016, their situation will change. It will not be a force where people will blame them of human rights abuses. It will not be, because I know they are human beings. What would I like to look at again? I am giving you these things because it's important for people to know. Infrastructure. This is appalling. When you come to certain areas and you see what is happening, you will think that, oh, it's nice because it's here. The few that have been collated and shown on the TV is just a tip of the iceberg. Go to other parts of the country. Go to other parts of the country where you have the unmotorable roads causing fatal accident for the rural people. During my travels in the rural communities, I have heard and witnessed a lot of fatal accidents as a result of the bad roads. The bridges that connect roads will be given priority. The rural road infrastructure will be given high priority to address the deplorable and road networks within and between regions, such as Kerewan Badala Sandu Highway, Basefatoto Highway, linking Fuladu, Tumana, Kantora, and Naude, Misra Highway to Sami in Sandu district. Similarly, the streets in Banjul, the capital city, are in a deplorable state. Banjul does not belong to Banjul, and Banjul is a capital. It belongs to the whole of Gambia. So it is important for Banjul to be given the attention it desires, not for the sake of whoever lives in Banjul, but it is the capital city. I will improve the capital city and give it the status it deserves. I will introduce integrated urban infrastructural development schemes. And this is not going to be during my time all over, but there is a pragmatic approach to it. It is not because I come and I'm gone 5 years, everything changes. In a mediocre state, when you leave, nothing continues and everybody brings it. This is not going to be a mediocre Third Republic. It's going to be embedded in continuity, respecting the social capital and the capacity and the ability of the technical people, as well as the private sector, and all those who have something to give in to make the Gambia a better place. I don't have to leave and then everything fails. That's not what I'm thinking of. I will improve the capital city and give it the status it deserves. I will introduce integrated urban infrastructural development scheme. The area councils will be encouraged to invest the taxpayers' money into the building of markets, car parks, feeder roads, taps and feeder roads and other infrastructure to improve the lives of the people. I would facilitate accessible and portable water facilities for rural isolated communities. The Gambia needs better transport system. I will engage the Gambia Transport Association to discuss their challenges and with them forge plans towards a better transport system. Our government will engage in reverse transport to generate revenue and attract the tourists to the beautiful landscapes along the length and breadth of the Gambia as a form of revenue generation. Then I have the Gambian diaspora. Under infrastructure, I also will address energy. Energy as a provision of constant supply of electricity is essential for the economy. Faced with the serious financial distress and accumulated losses, and in some cases poor management, NAWEC has been unable to provide steady and uninterrupted power supply necessary for the smooth running of the economy. NAWEC cannot even do it now because of the interferences. We will design a program for the strengthening of the financial position of NAWEC to make it more autonomous and competitive, as well as less dependent on government subventions and bailouts. We would direct NAWEC to come up with a plan of action for the collection of its debt, beginning with government institutions, which are among the biggest debtors. We would look into the possibility of privatizing the national NAWEC in the long run if things don't improve under the existing management, and to explore the possibility of harnessing the abundant sun and wind as greener alternative sources of energy, and to ensure electricity supply to all Gambian villages. To that effect, my government will forge collaboration with the relevant institutions to achieve this objective nationally and internationally. I come to our Gambian diaspora, who I respect, adore, appreciate for the Herculean task they have carried. Between 65,000 to 90,000 Gambians are resident in the diaspora, accounting for about 5% of our population. Most of them left the Gambia on account of threats and in some instances arrest and judicial harassment by the Jammeh regime. Our skilled emigration rate at 63% ranks second in Africa and among the top 20 in the world. The financial contributions of this segment of our population, estimated at over $90 million, account for about 10% of our gross domestic product. When I wrote this, it's almost, sometimes it might be more now. Definitely. Because now we are pauperized. Yet despite these contributions, the diaspora has been alienated in nation building. The diaspora has been denied its constitutional rights to vote in all elections in the country so far. It is against this backdrop that it is to engage this vital part of our population to effect positive change. I will create opportunities for Gambian professionals, entrepreneurs, and ordinary citizens to create a better Gambia, a democratic Gambia, because all Gambians can and should develop the country. And we are not crying naked in the street because of the diasporians. Every day, every week, every minute, as we are in this Tobaski period, you have a long line on the Western Union shops. On all forex bureaus, people sending money to safeguard and honor their families to live a decent life. The diasporians are almost carrying almost 50% of the Gambian population, or even 3/4 under my government. We will, the right to vote as sovereign citizens of the Gambia will be extended to the Gambians in the diaspora. They must choose to come or not to come. But if they are there, I will facilitate with the relevant institution to be able to engage them to decide what happens to the Gambia, because they are Gambians and they are citizens. I want to look at the truth. Having done my reflections, we were able to look at how are we going to deal with the negative feelings, the acrimonies, the pain, everything it takes to destroy the human being, everything that people all over the country and beyond have suffered under this regime. I am one of them, but I want to start by telling you that I have forgiven, and I mean it. I did not do with my colleague Ami Bojang Sisaho. We did not do, we were accused falsely. We did not do anything. It was a politically motivated case, a case that had nothing to do with the state, and there was no case in the first place. But you know how people are set up, just to keep us behind bars with impunity. I have forgiven this regime. And I mean it, and I have discussed that with my colleague. We agreed, because I have to start with myself. We must forgive ourselves and forgive each other. You might be sitting there, fellow Gambians, sitting with a person who you are looking, oh, he was the one who reported me. He facilitated the killing of X, Y, and Z. Oh, he came to torture me in the prison. He was in a black hood. You are all there. It's all Gambia. And many, many more. Here we are as I speak to you. Our noble sons and daughters in the prison who have been promoting and coming out for political freedoms. What is their crime? What is the crime of professionals who chose to follow professional lines and principles? Why were they arrested? They are put in offices. They try to do the work. They want to apply principles and practices that guide the job. They were put behind bars. There are many. I don't have to mention names, but I can speak for myself and my colleague. And I want to urge all of you that we must forgive. We may not forget, but we must forgive. And you know why it is important? If we don't forgive ourselves and forgive each other, we cannot repair the Gambia anymore. Because everybody has a story to tell. Everybody has pains. And when I say let us forgive and forget, I am not saying that we are not going to address the anomalies. We will. But we are going to follow strict rules and regulations of law and justice. And nothing violent, neither vendetta or vengeance. That's what I want to do. Therefore, having reflected together, we came up with the Truth and Reconciliation to build confidence and forge ahead, calling it the Integrity and Ethics Commission. The objective is to create the enabling environment that will facilitate reconciliation among Gambians to express their feelings. I am sitting here with you today with Gambians who have suffered under the Jammeh regime, who have been put under prison for holding professional feelings, standing up for professional approaches, for the integrity and dignity of the person. They are here with me today. I've heard their stories, and I want to say we must forgive. Maybe, even as I appeal to all of you, President Jammeh also might have been abused, because sometimes if you are head of state People bring you wrong information. They give you wrong stories because they feel whilst you are sitting there, you are not thinking and praying on your weaknesses. And they have fears about a particular person or an institution. They bring very wrong mistakes, information, and that could be the basis on which he will act and call for their arrest. He may also be abused. So this truth and reconciliation is going beyond us. Even the head of state, the outgoing head of state, needs to also come on that panel for us to forgiving ourselves for each other, open a new chapter for a healthy and peaceful coexistence on how to forge ahead. Because in life, we cannot occupy all positions forever. And if you talk about democracy, that's not it. To that effect, the following panels will be constituted with a clear mandate to engage in the process of reform. Panel on land, panel on justice and impunity, panel on the reform of the Constitution and other laws. I want to tell you that there might be other panels coming, and I don't know it all. I have developed this framework to guide me and my team, and for our third republic. But most of what is going to be done will be taken up by the relevant institutions. I believe there are Gambians out there in the diaspora and many other technical people who should prepare their minds and hearts. The business people, the private individuals who have a lot to do. But we must get those people to come and help us usher in an effective, well-respected, recognized, robust institutions to deal with all these things. I am not out for vendetta. That is why this panel is very important for me. I have been in the Gambia from 1994 to date, and I have been watching the political landscape. Sometimes I tell myself, I'm sorry for the president, because I've been interacting with people, those that sit beside him, talking in favor of him. He must look out behind his soldiers and reflect again. For the nature of human beings is such that if you are a leader, if you are not careful, they push you into what is not your choice, but just to fulfill their selfish interests. And as a leader, I am not here to castigate anybody, but I want to tell all Gambians and the world over that these are some of the things that I plan to do, but my emphasis will be more on the reforms that everybody is talking about. We need to get those institutions right, prepare the ground for a proper democracy, bring in all the aspects that I have addressed earlier, so that at the end of the day, people will have the confidence to come to the Gambia, contribute effectively, and I promise everybody that we can do it together. To make the Gambia a better place, you must have trust in the independent candidate, so that this change, this shift in power balance has to happen before we think about the reforms. It is where everybody is talking. I have had a lot of conversations in the online radios. I want to appreciate all of them, and I want to say thank you for all the efforts. I know it is the feeling and the commitment and conviction that they have, but it takes more than just a debate to make things happen. It takes more than just a debate to make things happen. And if you go into my website, looking at what is there, and many more others to come, and the amount of inputs and information and things put in place, we have set up a proper government. And I want to call all of you to transcend your parties. I am rising for the young people. I am rising for the young people. Because the young people are the present and the future. We cannot afford to compromise them. We cannot afford to compromise their opportunities. And that is why I am rising. They are our children. They are our nephews, our sons and daughters, and whatever you have. We all should put our hands together and save the Gambia, or else this will be a lost generation. I want to thank all of you for taking your time to listen to me, and to thank all people who are behind the scenes. All did not happen because I can do it. It happened because there was a concerted effort. I may not be able to call names, but I want to say thank you to everybody, and we pray that God the Almighty, who is overseeing all of us and knows what is in our hearts and minds, will deliver the Gambia. And I pray that we will succeed. Thank you.